This was a particular period of time on Earth where family was not considered to be the connection that it is now. All humans were family at that time. It didn't matter who you were born to. There was an element of unconditional love that existed where all humans helped each other, where all humans stepped in and created space for each other. Okay. So there wasn't a sadness over leaving a family and going somewhere else. It was part of a rite of passage to be able to connect to other people, to explore other things, to go different places. There was no concept of home, so to speak, as the entire Earth was home. Discovery was the purpose.
Welcome to the Akashic Recordings. My name is Annette DeLu. I'm an Akashic conduit, channel, and spiritual guidance coach. What you will be hearing today is a real session with one of my clients. All the names have been changed for privacy, and of course, with their permission, we are privileged to hear these beautiful stories to allow us a small glimpse into the Akashic Records. If you would like to book a session with me and be part of the podcast, please feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. When you book your session, just make sure to check the box that you would be interested in having your session utilized for the podcast. For those of you who really wanted to sign up for Soul Discovery Workshop, I have great news for you. You can head to my website, and on the homepage, if you go to the little box that describes Soul Discovery Workshop, there is a button there that says sign up for the wait list. So if you want to be in the know and want to be the very first one to sign up for the next session of Soul Discovery Workshop online, feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. Go to that homepage, click sign up for the wait list, and send your email, phone number, as well as your first and last name. And I will make sure you get that registration email as soon as the next course is ready to launch. In addition, you will get a discount code for the early bird sign up. So if you are interested, head over there now.
In today's session, we talk a lot about addictions and how they can rule our lives and hide the feelings or emotions that we are feeling. And oftentimes that is the exact reason why we have the addiction, is in order to cover up emotions that we are afraid of feeling. There are also several themes that come up throughout the course of the session with Millie. One of the themes is regarding doing what is heart-led versus what societal norms tell us that we need to do. During the discussion portion, I'm going to ask my guides what purpose it serves to have those social norms and what social norms are outdated and what do we need to start moving past. We also touched on Millie's soul purpose, and her soul purpose is to be the observer. I have come across many souls who have this type of soul purpose. And I would like to expound upon it a little bit deeper and talk about why observers are important as a soul purpose.
So tell me, what would you like to cover today?
I've been all over the place because I have so many questions.
Okay.
I've been researching, doing hypnosis and things like that for a very long time about past life regression, because I do feel like I have a purpose and I'm not following that, and I'm just out of whack, and I'm trying to really get a clear understanding of what I'm supposed to be doing here. I'm just really confused. I've been trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do for so long, and I'm tired of feeling lost. I started working for a lawyer, and I've been a bartender for 25 years, so it's a very different environment, and I want so badly for it to work because I do struggle with sobriety, and so being behind a bar is not a good job for me.
Okay.
So this is a major move, and I need it to work, and I'm just not knowing if it's right.
Okay, we can certainly take a look at that.
Yeah, I'd like to know who my soul family is. I feel like there's certain people around me, not necessarily family members either, that I'm very close to, that I feel like have been in multiple lives with me. And I just kind of want to get some validation if I'm right with my intuition on it.
Okay.
What is my soul purpose is a huge one. I think I asked you that. Is my career path the right one for me? Sorry, I'm going through my list.
No, that's
I just
fine. Go
woke up.
ahead.
It's super early where I am.
Right.
I am a very vivid dreamer to the point to where I have to question if something has happened in real life or if it was just a dream. And I have reoccurring dreams where always, and there's like 4 or 5 different dreams that I have that I always have, and they're not always the same, but they're always really similar. And I've just always been really intrigued as to why these places exist in my head. And if they're like, if I'm going to these places in another dimension, or if these dreams don't mean anything, because I always think that they mean something, but I just don't know what.
Right.
But I'll literally have a dream and wake up, go to the bathroom, come back, go to sleep, go right back to that dream. Friday night and Saturday night, I was in the same place at in the same kind of dream. It was just like a continuation. And that's really, I mean, and anything you just want to tell me would be great. I've never done anything like this before, so I don't really know what to ask.
Yeah. All of the questions you've asked are great. And I always let the guides sort of tell us where we need to go if there's anything else that you really must know. Okay. So you don't have to worry about anything that you might miss, because if there is something that's really pertinent, then the guides will definitely bring my attention to it.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
All right. So being that this is your first time having a session like this, let me give you a little rundown of how we're going to move through the session. We're going to start off with a brief meditation. We're going to get nice and grounded. And then I'm going to do a chakra scan for you to see kind of where you are energetically as it pertains to not only this life, but also past lives. And then we will open the records, and then we will see where we need to go first. I'll ask the guides where we need to go, and then we'll sort of start from there. Okay?
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Your root chakra is tired. I'm not seeing anything from any past lives in it. So the feelings that you're having currently in the root chakra have to do with your current life.
Okay.
It has a lot to do with the fact that you've been building your foundation upon something that you don't understand. So what they're saying is that you have been building your foundation based on 3-dimensional things, which is normal for most people to want to have that stability in their home, in their finances, and all of that. The challenge is the question that you are asking now, which is, what feels right for my soul? What feels right for my purpose? Because up until this point, most of your decisions have been sort of rooted in the 3D, and now you're kind of questioning that. That is a really good place to be in terms of shifting and changing that foundation in your root chakra. You haven't gotten there yet, but that's okay. Like, you're asking the right questions.
Okay.
They're showing me an analogy. It's like if you have somebody who, let's say, grows up in the suburbs and meets their spouse in high school and gets married and has a couple of kids and then has a job, a 9-to-5 job. And then at some point they have a midlife crisis, if you will. A lot of times what that's born out of is the fact that they are not following their soul path. They're following the societal template of what they feel they're supposed to do with their life.
I very much feel like that.
Yeah. And so what this particular moment in time does for you, which is telling you that you need to break out of that mold because you're not meant to fit in that mold. And you've known that for your whole life. You've known that you don't fit into that mold, but you've been trying to fit into that mold for so long. And it's exhausting to do that. It's exhausting to try to fit into something that doesn't fit you. Now it's about exploring what does fit you and where you do feel at home and comfortable. As you do this exploration, things are going to get easier and easier and more in the flow in your life. Just know that what you've gone through is very typical for most people because they just follow what they think society is telling them that they need to do. And to break out of that takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength in following your own intuition and not following what other people are telling you. That's kind of where you are at this moment.
Okay.
They're saying that you've got a lot of creativity, but you're not using it. You're not using that creative outlet, that divine feminine energy. You do have a little bit of a block here from a past life regarding that. It has something to do with your innate talents not being appreciated. Okay, so we'll take a look at whatever past life that was to see if we can sort of unlock that and see where that's coming from.
Okay.
I'm hearing that you're unsure of yourself. You're unsure of your place in the world. And this has to do with what we were just talking about with the root chakra. So you're unsure of your place in the world. You're unsure of what you're meant to do in terms of your soul connection, in terms of your connection to yourself even. That is something that will be addressed during the soul purpose portion of the session. Is there anything else we need to look in the solar plexus? No? Okay. All right. So then let's move that energy up to the heart chakra. Okay. I don't know what that means. So they're saying you love very, very deeply, but also very shallow, like on a very surface level. What they're showing me is that like you can love super deeply within your heart space, but the amount of love that you show to others is more on the surface. And it's because you are afraid of overwhelm. You're afraid of the overwhelm that you might be giving to another person or the overwhelm you might feel. Because you have such love in your heart, it's almost like if you unleash that love, it's going to be just too much. You have sort of locked that away for quite some time. I'm hearing for most of your life, you've locked that away. Does this have to do with a past life at all? It does not. Okay. This is her current lifetime. Okay. Is this part of what she's trying to learn in this lifetime as well? Okay. So your crown chakra is closed for the most part, but then occasionally it does open, and it opens on its own. Like you're not actually opening it yourself, but it opens on its own. And it's almost like the way they're describing it to me is like a door. Like if you can imagine like a screen door on a house that's being blown open by the wind. So it like blows open and then it shuts, and then it blows open and then it shuts. That's exactly what's happening with your crown chakra right now. And is that by design? It is. Yeah. Okay. So your crown chakra is opening when you need to get the messages you need, and then it's closing again because you don't want to receive too much information all at once. It will be overwhelming for your entire system at this time. You're still in the process of your three-dimensional body upgrade in terms of what you can take in terms of the energy. Your guides as well as your higher self has agreed that you will get certain messages, but then the crown chakra does need to close at a certain point. All right, so then let's move that energy into your third eye. Okay, so your third eye is closed at the moment, and that's also by design. How long have you been sober?
I try to quit drinking a lot, and I'll go for like 3 months, 6 months, and then I'll crash for 2 weeks. I'll crash for 3 months. Currently, it's been about 6 weeks, I guess.
Okay. The reason why you drink is going to be the catalyst for becoming sober. When people have addictions, and it doesn't matter what addiction it is, you have to get to the root of why that addiction exists. What emotion is that addiction covering up? And once you can get to the bottom of what that emotion is and actually release it and allow it to flow, the desire to drink, smoke, be on your phone, all of those things, like any sort of addiction that anybody has, will then start to dissipate. And I often talk about this, that this happened to me with smoking. So I smoked for many, many, many years. And like you, I would quit for a year and then go back. And then I'd quit for a couple of months and then I'd go back. I probably quit maybe 20, 30 times. Who knows? Each time, the reason why I would go back would be because of grief or pain or sadness or something that was going on in my life that I couldn't deal with. And so it wasn't until I dealt with that grief and that pain energetically that I was able to finally say that I was done. And actually, I didn't even need to say it. I never even really thought about picking up another cigarette again. And even in the most rough times in my life, death of a loved one, that sort of thing, those would be the times that I would pick it up the most. And I didn't. And that's how I knew that it was gone, that the need for that was gone. Now, it's not to say that we don't have other vices, because certainly we can always work on those things. And that is something that we sort of connect to as humans in terms of helping us through whatever it is that we need to go through. But it's about getting tools and practicing those tools in order to use them while you're going through whatever it is you're going through. So we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of what can be done to help you with that exploration into the emotions, because it's not entirely about just sobriety. It's about getting to the bottom of what the drinking is about to begin with. Okay.
Okay.
And so the reason why your third eye is closed is because if your third eye was open, you would be able to see a lot more of the unseen, a lot more of the spirits or entities that might be around. When we have substances in our body and when we drink or we smoke pot or anything like that, it allows other entities that are lower or lower energy entities to attach to us. And sometimes what they do is they like the feeling of the drinking, or they like the feeling of the smoking, or they like the feeling of whatever it is you're doing. And so they kind of attach to your energy field so they can kind of go along for the ride. And
Wow.
what you can do, though, is you can clear your energy often in order to make sure that you don't have any of those energies attached to you. Okay.
Okay.
It's not to say that people can't drink at all. Like, obviously people are going to drink even if they don't have an intention on moving through the addiction, or even if they don't have an addiction. It's a matter of being able to be aware of your surroundings and what you are experiencing energetically. There are times when, even if we're just outside and going around and doing our daily business, that other energies and entities can attach to us that way as well. So it doesn't have to be that you're using a substance, but if your energy is already elevated and you're not using any substances, then it's much more difficult for those entities to attach to you, because they can attach to you because you're lowering your energy, because any type of altering substance to your body allows your frequency to lower. So there's no judgment in that. It's just a fact of what happens energetically. And so to be aware of it is to be able to do something about it, meaning that you can clear your energy or protect your energy before or after you're drinking. Yeah, you have a lot to say, and you want to say it in a way that is impactful. And I'm hearing like you want to sound really smart to the people that you're speaking to. And this is a wound that you have from childhood as well as from a past life, where you feel like if you speak and you say something and somebody doesn't understand it, or somebody doesn't connect to that information, it makes you feel like you're not smart. And what's interesting is that a lot of times what you're doing is you are connecting to your intuition and you're speaking from the heart. And if the person you're speaking to isn't speaking from the heart, or they're not heart-centered, they're not going to connect to that information. And that has nothing to do with you being smart or not. It has to do with them being able to receive the frequency that you're existing at that time. We'll take a look at that lifetime, but also just to help you to understand that it has nothing to do with your intelligence, with your knowledge. It has everything to do with whether or not the person is able to accept what you are saying, that they can receive it, that they can understand it. They're saying that also this has a little bit to do with your soul purpose as well. So we'll tap into that as well. Okay, great. I would like to thank Akula, my Akashic guide. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon for being here and guiding us through the records today. Today, we are opening up the Akashic Records. They want us to address the drinking first, because it is actually tied a little bit to the reason why you're feeling this sort of restlessness of what you are doing for a living. They're saying to me that you've known for a long time that bartending was not something that you were meant to do, even though you stayed in it for 25 years, you said, yes?
Yes.
It was kind of a perpetuating energy of not wanting to be there, but then also wanting to be there and enjoying it, but then also realizing that it wasn't aligned for you. It was a very conflicting energy. Okay. So they're wanting me to ask you the question, do you know the reason why you decide to drink when you do? So you said that you do stop drinking for a little while and then you go back. Do you know why it happens?
I don't. I really
Okay.
wish I did.
Okay. So it is something that they're saying that you can be more present with. So when you have the moment where you want to drink, being able to not judge it, but say to yourself, okay, what is the reason why I need to drink right now?
Okay.
So we're going to do a little bit of timeline work right now. Can you remember the last time you drank? You said it was about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And what I would like to do is have you just imagine that you're standing in a circle in your sacred space. And there's a circle around you offering this divine light protection around you. And we're going to clear any and all lower or negative energies from your energy field, any energies that do not belong to you. So you did have some energies attached to you, and I'm seeing your energy field sort of collapse in exhaustion. It's almost like you've been really kind of trying to fight off these energies energetically for a while. So then what I would like you to do is I would like you to imagine that you're traveling back in time and you're going back to that moment 6 weeks ago where you decided to pick up a drink. And I want you to imagine that that version of you is standing right in front of you right now. And I would like you to ask her what the reason is that she wants to pick up a drink. And are you able to connect with her?
I'm trying.
Are you feeling any emotions while you're connecting to her?
No, I just don't feel like I know how to connect to her.
Okay. Can you visualize her at all?
Yeah.
So what I would like you to do is maybe reach out both of your hands and ask her to take both of your hands, and you can connect energetically together and maybe connect to her energy and see how she feels. Maybe you might hear some words. Maybe she might look a certain way to you. And if you still can't get anything, it's okay. I'm going to connect into her energy as well and get some messages for you. But it is important to be able to at least start this connection with her. One of the things that I'm getting is that part of the reason why she wanted to drink was because of this feeling of being lost, not knowing what to do, not knowing the next step to take. It's almost the fear of the unknown. And drinking is actually something that is comforting. It is something that is familiar. It is something that you can understand and feel. Is there anything else you would like to add to that, or would you like to respond to it?
No, when you say it out loud, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because I do feel comfortable when I drink. It's kind of like the only time I can turn my head off and really just disconnect from everything that I'm constantly thinking about. My mind is always going. I can't turn it off. It's hard for me to go to sleep. And I do smoke, and that is a big reason why I smoke, because it does kind of help clear that from my mind, especially at the end of the day. It is exhausting. I'm always thinking, like, I'm overthinking everything. Like, I want to be good at what I'm doing. When you started talking about me not feeling smart when I talk, I do that a lot, actually, especially in this new job, because I'm working around all of these government people and lawyers, and it's totally out of my realm. And I'm trying to grasp it and I just can't get it. And it makes me feel like, am I just too far out of my element here? Like, I want to be in this kind of environment and move forward and do something different. But is this what it is?
So we'll address that in a moment in terms of the job. I want to address, first of all, the judgment of yourself. When we have vices such as smoking or drinking, there is a judgment that we have of ourselves for doing it sometimes.
Yeah.
And I always say that you're going to use the substance for as long as you need to use it until you do not need it anymore. And to judge where you are is simply prolonging the process. So the first step for you is accepting where you are and not judging you for where you are, for what you're doing, for what feels comfortable. And then you can ask your guides in the universe to show you one small step you can take that will give you a new tool or a new way of processing instead of the drinking or smoking. So for example, if you have a lot of overwhelm and your brain is racing and you can't turn it off, what is one thing that you can do? Well, the first thing that you can do is breathe. So inhale really deeply for 4 counts and exhale really deeply for 4 counts. What is that? That is actually mimicking smoking. Because what are you doing in your smoking? You're breathing deeply. And if you're not breathing deeply on a regular basis and being able to calm the nervous system, the smoking is actually what is doing that. So it's not to say, I'm not telling you, okay, no more smoking, just breathe. That's unrealistic, okay? But what I would ask you to do is take one small step. So maybe before you have your cigarette, take a moment and just breathe and just take 1 or 2 deep breaths. And then once you do that, if you want to have your cigarette afterwards, fine. Go ahead, do it.
Oh, I don't smoke cigarettes. It's not cigarettes.
Oh, it's not cigarettes. It's pot. Okay, that's fine. Either way,
Yeah.
it's same sort of concept, right?
Yeah.
Aspects of you that are wanting to disconnect from yourself are the aspects that you want to address. So I wasn't surprised that you were not able to connect to that version of you from 6 weeks ago. And the reason why is because a lot of what you are doing is trying to disconnect from yourself. And so the more you try to connect to yourself, the more you try to get to know who you are, the easier it's going to be to reconnect to yourself. The problem oftentimes comes in with how nice to yourself you are. So if you're not all that nice to yourself, getting to know yourself is not something that you're going to want to do. If you don't have that self-love, getting to know yourself is not going to be something that you're going to want to focus on. So for your homework, there are 2 things that I would suggest that you do. The first thing is the breathing. The second thing is if you can find one thing each day that you like about yourself. I don't care how small it is. I don't care if it's, I have pretty nails. That's fine. I don't care if it's, I am strong. It can be something very, very, very small, or it can be big. It doesn't matter. But just something that you can connect to within yourself that you like. Self-love takes time. And unraveling the sort of negative self-talk and the judgment takes time.
The reason I can't connect with myself, the reason why I am not being able to spiritually connect with my intuition,
Yes.
because I feel like I have it and I have for a very long time in a bigger way than a lot of people
Yes.
around me, but I don't really know how to tap into that. And
Yes.
that's a lot of my frustration.
Also, drinking and smoking is something that dulls the senses. It dulls your ability to connect to your intuition. Oftentimes, I find that people who are very sensitive to energies and very sensitive to their intuition are the ones that drink or smoke the most. It's because sometimes it gets to be too much. Sometimes the energy is too big.
Yeah.
And so you need something to dumb it down. You need something to dampen the energy because it is too much for you.
Yeah.
I've known quite a few people who were born seeing ghosts and spirits and entities and things like that. And they drink a lot because drinking makes those things go away. The sort of catch-22 in that is that the more you drink, the more you're lowering your energy. And so you stay stuck in those lower energies. So when you do sense, see, feel those energies, you're going to stay in that lower energy. And that's what you're going to see, hear, and feel. When you're able to raise your frequency and you're able to open your third eye in that raised frequency, that allows you to be able to see, hear, and feel lighter energies. And it almost becomes difficult for those darker or lower energies to even approach you or attach to you, or even that you would perceive them.
Yeah. I've always felt like I was an empath.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very good at being a bartender. I just naturally feel like people generate towards me because I'm very genuine. And so that role, I fit into that role because I have a very kind of like I need to help in anything. If I see a homeless person, I want to feed them. If there's an animal that's hurt, I need to help.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I take on a lot of that. Like I work in rescue and I feel like these animals that need help find me. People that are hurting, they kind of gravitate towards me. And that's a lot because a lot of times it's people that are hurting or struggling with their own things and I'm helping them, and it's really dumbing down my energy at the same time. And that's a lot.
There's a way to help people and help animals and be in that space without being in that energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you will find that way. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And I'm hearing that part of the reason why you put yourself in that position is because you feel like if you are able to put yourself in the same place as the people or animals that you are helping, it makes it more effective for you to be able to help if you have that knowledge or compassion for what they're going through. So it's not to say that you're going through exactly what they're going through, but you put yourself in that energetic frequency in order for you to have that commonality and that compassion for the person or the animal to be able to connect on that level. And they're saying that you don't need to connect on that level in order to help. We're going to dive into your soul purpose and your life purpose because I feel like this is a good segue to that. And I think it's going to help you understand why you operate the way that you do. Let us take a look at the soul purpose first. Yes, yes. How many lifetimes do we need to look at for her soul purpose? Just one. All right, let's take a look, please. We're looking at the very first lifetime you had here on Earth. You were not one of the souls that helped create Earth, but you did come to Earth pretty shortly thereafter. It's like you came here when Earth was pretty much brand new. Okay, so you did the typical acclimation that most souls do, where you were various different things on the planet. So grass, trees, flowers, rocks, water, that kind of thing. So you did the acclimatization and then you incarnated as human. Interestingly enough, you incarnated as human before you incarnated as animal. You did incarnate as animals later on as a point of reference to see what it was like, but you didn't go through that process that a lot of people do. So you went straight to being human. And the way that they're showing me Earth was that like it was pristine. It was shiny, it was new, it was perfect. It was perfect in its energetic balance. It was perfect in its energy. It was easy to be here for a human. And I'm seeing you learning the ways of how to be on this planet. So I'm seeing you hunt. I'm seeing you gather fruit, things like that. You're learning about the land. You have people with you, but you are not particularly close to them. They're not family. Okay, so where is her family, please? This was a particular period of time on Earth where family was not considered to be the connection that it is now. All humans were family at that time. It didn't matter who you were born to. There was an element of unconditional love that existed where all humans helped each other, where all humans stepped in and created space for each other. Okay. So there wasn't a sadness over leaving a family and going somewhere else. It was part of a rite of passage to be able to connect to other people, to explore other things, to go different places. There was no concept of home, so to speak, as the entire Earth was home. Discovery was the purpose. And that is what her soul was doing in that lifetime, was just discovering the different terrain, discovering different people, discovering different animals and how to be, discovering her body and what it meant to be human. They're likening it to almost like taking a car for a test drive. They're saying like, that's kind of what you were doing in that lifetime, like testing out all the features, like figuring out what it means to be human, what happens. I'm seeing you cut yourself on a like a branch or a log or something like that, and you're bleeding and you're fascinated by this. You're just looking at it going, what happened there and why? And what is that? And why does it hurt? And you didn't really know what hurt was, but that was just something that you were experiencing at that moment. And it was at a time when people didn't judge what was happening to them. It was just something that happened. And then they would experience it and observe it. Yeah. It was a period of time on Earth when Earth herself was in a pretty high frequency. And so the people on Earth were also in a pretty high frequency, very connected to their souls, very connected to the other side. I'm seeing you connect to portals. You saw portals in different places where the veil was thinned between dimensions. And I saw you playing with them, like you would just sort of stick your hand in there and just see what was going on energetically in there. There wasn't a lot of lower negative energy going on at that time on Earth. Everything was quite harmonious. You are an observer. It is part of your soul purpose. You are able to see where people are in their lives and observe what needs to happen or what they need to do in order to follow their path. So I'm seeing you in this previous lifetime. You come across two men who were experiencing anger. And this was not something that you came across very often, given the fact that people lived quite harmoniously at that time. And these two men were experiencing this anger and they didn't know what it was and they didn't know how to handle it. It created instincts within them that were unusual or unfamiliar to them. So they're showing me it was almost as if they were screaming at each other and almost wanting to like choke each other. Like they were kind of going at each other physically. And looking at you with this look of pleading, like, I don't know what is happening to me right now. Why is this happening? And so you were just observing what was happening with them, and you were able to identify the energy that was going on between them. And you were able to help them to dissipate that energy. You were able to diffuse the energy and allow the anger to be released and bring them back to a state where they could converse again, where they could communicate. Yeah, that is something that you do on a regular basis. You de-escalate energy. If there is something that is going to be a powder keg, so to speak, where it's going to explode, like that energy is constantly being diffused by you and your soul. You're the peacekeeper. Okay. You might find that whenever people are around you, they are at peace. They're more peaceful than usual, even if they're not peaceful people in general. When they get into your energy field, they are more peaceful than they usually are. Yeah. Okay. So how is this her sole purpose in this trajectory? Like, what does this present itself as? Well, there are two things. She is an observer, for one. Number two, because her energy allows a neutral place for people to work through their issues, she is a space holder to be able to allow things to come down to a particular level of energy where both parties or all parties involved can see eye to eye momentarily while they're in her energy. Once they leave her energy, it does not stand in terms of that peace, but it creates a momentary peace that allows a different way of thinking or a different way of being for the people who come across her energy field. Okay. So is this why she was drawn to working in bars? Because this was actually helping the people who were not in peace. Her being around was allowing them to be at peace. That is correct. That is why she was drawn there. Okay. That is not necessarily the reason for her being here, though, in this lifetime. And we will get to that momentarily. Okay. All right. So it is sort of your natural state to want to gravitate towards energy that is distorted, that is divisive, because when you are around, that energy dissipates. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else we need to know about her soul purpose? No, that is it. Okay. All right. I'm going to pause right there. Do you have any questions about that?
I don't know. I mean, my rescue partner is a therapist, and she's always telling me that my purpose is therapy or something like that, that is what I'm good at and what I should be doing.
That would lend itself to what your soul energy does, which is creating a space of peace for people to work through whatever they need to work through. That is something we'll take a look at for the life purpose. But if you don't have any questions about the soul purpose, you can just sort of let that sink in. Sometimes it takes a little while for the information regarding your soul purpose to integrate before you have any questions. So if any questions pop up later on in the session or later on, you can always just ask. But if you don't have any questions about that right now, we can move into the life purpose.
Okay. Yes, please.
All right. So do we need to look at any past lives for her life purpose? Yes, we need to look at 2. Okay. All right, let's take a look, please. So we're going to look at the lifetime just before this one first. Okay, so I'm seeing that you were in World War II. You were a medic. In that particular lifetime, you were creating the space for healing to take place. Souls such as yourself do have a tendency to incarnate during wartime because your energy is very much needed during that time. I'm getting that you were in Poland. You did a lot of work on soldiers and civilians alike. You weren't actually in the military, though. They're showing me a hospital. So it's like you were working in an actual hospital at the time. And it's like the hospital just kind of became the place where people who were injured from the war came. And in that lifetime, that was your purpose. You incarnated specifically during that time to heal the sick, to heal the wounded, to save as many lives as possible. Okay. And also the lives that you were not able to save, to give them a moment of peace before they crossed over. So your energy field also has that ability to be able to create peace as somebody is crossing over. so they wouldn't be in such turmoil as they were transitioning. And what's important here, and I don't know why they're giving me this information, but it's like you worked on people who were in your community. So Polish people, as well as Germans, as well as anyone else who came through the hospital. You didn't have any sort of discrimination against who you were trying to save. Like, you took your oaths very seriously in terms of what you were doing as a doctor. And it didn't matter who came through the door. You looked at everyone as a human, everyone as somebody who you needed to help. And it is this lack of judgment that is really strong within you when it comes to other people.
Yeah, I feel that.
What's interesting is that the judgment that you have is mainly for yourself. And I'm seeing in this past life, it's like the judgment you had then was that you weren't good enough. Like every person you lost, you were like, I could have done better. Like even though you were an exceptional doctor, you still felt like you could have done better. And you were very judgmental about that aspect of yourself. What you didn't realize is that from an energetic standpoint, a lot of the people that came across your energy field were there for a reason. And some of them were there specifically to cross over. So they'd be able to cross over in peace. It's like if you can imagine somebody going through something as traumatic as a war and dying on a battlefield would be very scary and lonely and horrible. Whereas dying on a hospital bed with a person who has an energy field that creates calm would ease the transition into the next stage of being. And so you created this beautiful energy for people to be able to cross over as well. So even though your human self thought you were failing, you were not. You were actually excelling at what you were doing. And it was helping people to move into the next transition point. Okay. Is there anything else we need to take a look at from that lifetime? No. All right, let's take a look at the next lifetime then. So this next lifetime is 3 lifetimes ago. You were in London in this next lifetime. It was a time when there was a lot of fear. I'm getting it was sort of like the mid 1800s. There was a lot of fear going on. They're giving me the image of like Jack the Ripper. I don't know if he was around at that time. I don't know what time frame he was around. I can't remember. I know it was in the 1800s. I just don't remember where exactly it was. But they're saying it was something similar to that, where there was a lot of fear amongst people in general. And the fear was creating more fear. And so you incarnated in that place and in that time in order to help quell those fears. So just you existing in that space was allowing people to not be as fearful, because fear is one of the lower energies. They're saying that the reason why this particular lifetime is important is because it does cross over into this lifetime as well. Some of the work that you're here to do is to help people through their fears. They're saying to me that you've had to work through a lot of your own fears in this lifetime. And the fact that you've had to work through a lot of your own fears, like, is sort of a nod to the fact that you know how to work through some fears already. And so you can help people do that. But they're saying that's not your entire life purpose. Okay. Do we need to see anything else from that previous lifetime in London? No. Okay. So what is it that we need to connect those 2 lifetimes to in order to know her life purpose in this lifetime? She is a natural leader. She's also a natural communicator. This is why when we were saying that she had that issue in her throat chakra, that it was problematic for her because she is a natural communicator and she knows how to speak and how to convey ideas. She's very good at it. The problem is that she is trying to speak in a way that other people would, not in the way that she does. And what she needs to embrace in this lifetime is speaking from her own heart and from her own soul, and not worry about speaking like other people. In both previous lifetimes, it wasn't her words that made a difference. It was her energy. Being around people when she was in London gave people calm and peace. When she was at war in Poland, the patients she treated had calm and peace just being in her energy. It didn't actually matter the things or the words that she said. It was just being in her energy that helped. Okay. So they're showing me an image of you sitting in a circle of people where you are offering, let's say, group sessions on facing fears, on moving through challenges, on being able to create your own identity based on what is aligned for you. This is what you are guided to move into for this lifetime, holding space for people to be able to heal energetically. You are not meant to heal people physically in this lifetime. That was the previous lifetime. In this lifetime, you are to embrace everything that you are energetically and help people have that space to heal, to move through fears, to create something new for themselves. And that can look like a lot of different things. There are a lot of different modalities you could sort of explore in order to create whatever this is you're going to create. One of the things they're talking to me about. So, are you familiar with NLP?
No.
Okay. NLP is neuro linguistic programming. And we did a little bit of that with the timeline work today. That is just like a really brief sort of example of it. It can go very much deeper into reprogramming the brain into different thoughts, habits, belief systems. And that type of work is very important for people to get over fears, to get over limiting beliefs, to get over thoughts that they have in their brain that don't serve them anymore, that don't actually align with who they are. And that's something that's a training that you can take. You can take a training in NLP. You don't necessarily have to have a degree in that, but there are plenty of different workshops that you can take that will teach you how to do that. Ask your angels and guides to guide you to the correct and aligned modalities for you to be able to start doing this work. So I'm getting that working at the lawyer's office is actually just a placeholder at this time. Yes, it's something that you want to make work because it's something different than what you had been doing. And it's something that is going to help stabilize you financially. And that's perfect and that's great. And you can continue doing this until such time that where you feel comfortable to move forward in the new modality that you will be creating for others. So I don't see the working at the lawyer's office being something that is super long term, maybe a couple of years. Okay, so I'm going to pause. How does that feel for you?
It makes sense. I have always felt like I was here to help people. That really resonated with me when you said that.
Yep.
It makes sense in a lot of ways what you're saying, all of it all together. I definitely didn't feel like I was new to this world or universe or lives or whatever. I feel like I've been here a really, really long time. And when you started talking about like me being on Earth when it was pristine and brand new, like I've always felt like I was a Neanderthal. Like I was one of those people back then that helped learn the basics.
Yeah. And you most certainly were.
Wow.
So does that help give you a little bit of direction as to next steps to take, as to where you need to go in terms of your soul purpose, life purpose?
Yeah, it does. It kind of validates what I already knew in a way.
It always will. Most of these sessions, I'm never going to tell somebody something that they don't already know within their own hearts. You're equipped with all of the information that you need to move forward. I'm not giving you that information necessarily. I'm just basically the translator. So I'm the one that is able to connect to the energy and give it to you if you're not able to access it right now yourself. But eventually you will be able to access it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. They want to address the two brief lifetimes we saw in the chakra system. So the throat chakra, as well as the sacral, your creativity? No, it was the solar plexus. Yeah. Okay. All right. Are they two different lifetimes that we need to see? Yes. All right. So this lifetime I'm seeing you're a little girl. So this doesn't have a huge impact on you now, but it has a little bit of an impact. What I'm seeing is that in this particular lifetime, I'm seeing you as a little girl and you're learning how to do things like sew. You're learning how to knit. You're learning how to create. I'm seeing you like tie a ribbon and I'm seeing you be creative. And in this particular lifetime, it was very common and part of society where girls would learn how to do creative things. They would not necessarily learn intellectual things. There's an element here where you place a particular type of importance on learning how to be in your divine masculine energy and be able to have knowledge and study and be smart and all of these things as like an antithesis to this previous lifetime where you were not able to access those things. So as a little girl, you were learning how to do all these creative things, but all you wanted to do was like read a book or do something that was almost forbidden for you at that time, which is to have discussions or learn something new, learn math, learn science, those types of things. You had this great interest in it, but they wouldn't allow you to do it. And so in this particular lifetime you're currently in right now, a little bit of that energy has sort of stayed with you where you're kind of almost pushing away the creative because that was something that you could do, but you didn't want to do. You wanted to focus more on the intellectual pursuits. And so just being aware of this lifetime is going to help you because it is okay to connect to the creative aspects of you. Just because you tap into the creative aspects does not mean that you can't also be pursuing intellectual subjects. So just know that you have the ability to do both now in this lifetime, and you don't have to pick and choose.
That makes sense. I've always been a very creative and artistic person on many levels. And I went to art school and I loved that part of me. And I kind of had a block at one point in my life where I just anytime I picked up a pencil or a paintbrush or anything, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've just kind of like put it all down. I keep trying to get back into it, buying paint and buying all these different mediums and stuff. But when it comes to sit down and actually do these things, I don't know what to do.
Right. And it's because you've spent a lot of time focusing on the intellectual sides of things. Okay. And you've almost lost that connection to that flow within yourself. Connecting more to yourself energetically is going to help with that flow. Connecting to your divine feminine energy is going to help with that flow. So your sacral chakra is your divine feminine energy. If you are able to practice receiving, practice manifestation, practice softness, and just being, like those are the things that are going to help cultivate that creative energy again. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm hearing that eventually it's going to just start flowing out of you and you're not going to be able to stop. And it's going to be great.
Great. Waiting for that. It is a happy place. I love being creative and then that's honed into what I'm doing in the moment and really feeling that art come out of me. Like,
yeah,
I've been
absolutely.
missing that.
And the art that comes out of you also is also healing for people because it is your energy that you're putting on paper, canvas, whatever it is. One of the other things that you can also take a look at, there's a woman that I did a podcast interview with way back when, before I was doing the Akashic recordings. And she does intuitive art. And so she creates these retreats where she invites people to come and paint, and she prompts them and teaches them how to paint in a way that is literally moving through your trauma, your issues, your fears. So it's not about necessarily making art that is perfect. It is about making art that is moving you through your fears, your traumas, and all of the things you've experienced. And so it's a very healing experience. So I'll send you her website so at least you can just take a look at it to see if it interests you. And if it does, then I know she has trainings and that sort of thing. So you can always inquire about that. But that would be another way that you could sort of connect your creative with what you are here to do.
Awesome. I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So let's take a look at the lifetime we need to see for the throat chakra, please. Is it the same lifetime? It is. Oh, okay. So it's not two different lifetimes. Sorry. It's actually the same lifetime we were just looking at, the one where you were feeling like you wanted to have intellectual pursuits, but you couldn't, that you could only do creative things. It's the same lifetime, but just a different part of that lifetime. So in that particular situation, we were looking at you when you were a little girl. This situation with the throat chakra, we're looking at it and you're an adult at this point. Okay. So I'm hearing at this point in this lifetime, you actually did start to read books. You taught yourself how to read. You started moving into intellectual pursuits, but it's like people saw that as just frivolous. And they're like, why would you do that? You're a woman. You can't understand. And so you would try to have these intellectual discussions with people at social events. And you were faced with nothing but condescension. It was just like, oh, that's cute. You've read a couple of books. You don't know anything. And there was a lot of that going on, and it was really infuriating to you. And so each time you spoke, you were like, I know what I'm saying is true because I've done my research and I've read these books. And you're talking to people who have traveled the world, who have actually experienced some of these things where you have just read about them in books. And there is an aspect there of applied knowledge based on experience versus knowing about it in books, right? And so there was an aspect here that the people you were speaking to were correct in the sense that you had just a very narrow viewpoint of what you were discussing simply because you didn't have the life experience. You had the book experience, the book knowledge, but you didn't have the life experience. And so you were not able to hear what these people were saying because all you saw was the judgment and the condescension. And so there's an aspect here that is going to help you in this lifetime where if somebody is coming at you with potential condescension or with something that you feel is maybe putting you down for not knowing something, if you can, take a step back from an observation standpoint, because that's something you're really good at is observation. Observe it for what it is. That maybe this person might be giving you some information that you might need to know, and that maybe they have a different perspective that might help you open up your perspective. Maybe try to take a look at it from the perspective of, instead of them attacking you or attacking your intelligence, that maybe they're offering some new information that you could hold on to. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they offer you information that was flat out wrong, but that's okay. You can say, okay, they gave me this information. I know it's incorrect, so I'm just going to throw it away. The observation of something like that without taking it personally is the result of being able to be confident in yourself, as well as having your own knowledge of who you are, and then also having that confidence. So that solar plexus energy, that confidence in who you are, to know that even if somebody is being condescending to you, even if somebody is talking down to you, you still know that you have your own self-worth, and that the reason why this person may be talking down to you has nothing to do with you. Maybe it has to do with their own insecurities. So these are all things just to keep in mind as you move forward and as you get to know yourself. I'm going to pause there. Do you have any other questions about that?
No, I don't think so.
You did have some questions about the people in your life.
Is somebody who reached out to me on Facebook who was going through a really bad time in his life. I did not know him at all, but he could feel in my energy that I was really good person and with animals, and that was his purpose then, was to try to keep his dog in the situation he was going through. So I actually took his dog and cared for his animal for like 4 months, and we've become very much I look at him like a son almost. He's very spiritual and intuitive. He's like somebody I can talk to about all this stuff that like gets it. I just feel really connected with him. Like I've known him for a long time, and like maybe I was his mother at one point.
You are not soul family, but you've known each other for quite some time. He's on a similar trajectory as you are, and you have similar soul signatures. He's a healer. And while you do have healing capabilities, your healing comes in a different way than his. It's because of that you can actually connect to each other on that level. Yeah. Yeah, you have been in many lifetimes together, though. He's also here to learn from you. On a soul level, he is younger than you in terms of like his experience on Earth. He has a lot of other experience elsewhere in other planets and things like that. Because you've been here since Earth was created, like you have a lot of really great practical information about being here. And that's how you first met, actually, was because he was really struggling being here on Earth. And so you kind of took him under your wing to be able to help him get acclimated. Did you have any other specific questions about him?
No.
Okay. Your husband, they are soul family. Okay. He's been cradling you in a way. It's like he creates a safe space for you to be able to do the work that your soul needs to do. They're saying to me he's a fortress. Like he is a giant fortress, like creating a brick wall around everything, trying to keep your energy safe. He's your protector, almost too protective sometimes. Interesting, because this protection energy that he has, though, can sometimes be suffocating for you. Yeah, but it's out of love. It's not because he's trying to control what you're doing. It's just that he wants you to be safe and in your energy. Okay. How long have you been together?
13 years.
Okay. There's something about I don't know why they're saying this to me, but they want me to tell you that he couldn't have come sooner because you weren't ready for his energy then, and vice versa.
That makes sense. A lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
I've always felt like we've met each other at the right time, like what he was coming out of and what I was coming out of.
Yeah.
And that's when we were supposed to meet.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you have any other specific questions about him?
Is he my soulmate? I feel like we don't have one soulmate, but
Correct.
I do very much feel like he is someone who's supposed to be with me always.
Yes. From that definition, yes. I would say he's more than a soulmate, though. Like, soulmates have a tendency to just have this beautiful, harmonious connection, and they're there to like support each other and help each other and that sort of thing. And that's great. And that's something you do have. But also, what you have is something greater than that. You do have specific purposes in each other's lives that you are meant to do in this lifetime. It's not like you're just here for the sake of being there for each other. Like you actually have work to do together.
Wow.
Energetically, in other words. Him being the fortress for you, him being able to protect you, like all of those things, that is part of what he's here to do. And that's part of his job with you. It's interesting though, because he has done that job, but like he doesn't even know the half of what he's going to be doing, like as you step into this new phase of your life. Energetically, what he's going to be doing for you is going to be much bigger and much more significant over the course of the next couple of decades.
So we will be together forever.
As long as you both are still choosing to, which I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. Yeah, you will be together for the rest of this lifetime. Yes.
I love that. I feel like it's supposed to be that way.
It is. You do have a soul contract together. So as long as that soul contract is active, that energy is sort of keeping that connection together. It's not to say people can't have their free will decisions, but I don't see that really coming into play. I feel like you both are choosing every day to be together.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. And this is who to you?
She's just one of my best friends, but she's very deep into this kind of stuff. She's very in tune with who she is and spirituality. She does readings and things like that. I kind of look at her like mentorish. Like I definitely look up to her and I feel like she's where I wish I was as far as like spirituality. But I also feel like I've known her for a really long time.
You haven't known her that long in terms of a soul connection, but you have known each other for several lifetimes. There has been a connection between the two of you for a particular reason, and there is an exchange of information going on here. So you say that you wish you were as advanced as her, but you already are as advanced as her on a soul level. You both are sort of in the same energetic frequency on a soul level, but she has different talents than you. And so what you have done over the course of the last several lifetimes together is you're kind of exchanging information. So she's helping you with certain things that she's really good at, and then you're helping her with other things that you're really good at. As you come more into your gifts as a human, like in the 3D, then those things will start to become much more obvious. Right now, the things that you're helping her with are more on an energetic plane. It's not as obvious to you, like the things that you're contributing to the friendship in terms of spirituality, but you're contributing just as much as she is. It's just she's doing more of the three-dimensional things than you are at this moment.
Okay.
So you're both going to end up learning from each other.
I feel like that we already do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So then let's take a look at your dogs. Did my dogs choose me? Let's see. Can you give me your dog's names, please? Is hilarious.
She is.
Oh my God. She's a jokester. She's like, yeah, I don't know who this lady is. I don't know why she chose me. And then she's laughing. She goes, no, of course I chose her. Of course I chose her. Because we have been together for many, many lifetimes. So that's something that was always going to be.
Oh,
And then, sorry, give me the other dog's name again, please. Is a very old, gentle soul. I'm not seeing that necessarily chose to be with you specifically, but it is a good match. Oh, interesting. Huh. Well, I guess so. In a way, he did choose you because I'm getting that he was actually slated for somebody else, and when you chose him, he had the opportunity to, how do I put this? Okay. So when souls are meant for other souls, like in terms of pets, they will actually leave the pet body and go somewhere else. They will go into a different pet body if they need to shuffle around. If a person chooses like a dog or a cat that isn't the soul they're meant to have, like the souls will kind of shuffle around until they get into the right bodies. That was what he was going to do. Actually, he was going to leave that dog and go and be in the dog that he was meant to be in for this particular lifetime for him. But then he saw your energy and he felt your energy and knew that he could be of assistance and decided to stick around.
oh, I have a different connection with him than I do with.
100%. Yeah. Totally different.
I love both my dogs, of course, but he's very much like they say emotional support and that kind of animal. He is definitely that for me. And it's funny because he's blind and deaf. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes total sense because he's energetically helping you, right? Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, interesting. How old is?
they're both 7.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I just keep on getting this really, really old energy, like very wise, very old energy.
He is like an old man. It's funny. Everything you're saying is so spot on. Like, he is definitely the little jokester, the one that jumps around and is fun and funny. And he's like the old man that just hangs out in the corner by himself.
Yup. And he likes it that way. He absolutely likes it that way. He's cool with his solitude. He's cool with just being on his own. Like he's happy there.
Good. Because I always wonder if when you can't see or hear anything, are you happy in your space? Am I doing enough to make sure you're comfortable?
Yeah. He does wish that there was more that he could experience, but for him, touch is everything. So being able to touch or feel things is everything. If ever you feel like he's getting into some sort of funk, like giving him pets, giving him brushes, giving him different tactile experiences is like making his world expand. But the reason why he was born into a dog that was blind and deaf is that he needed to be connected to his energy solely. Because the way he's helping you is energetically. And sometimes, especially dogs, can get into that distracted energy. And so he needed to be hyper focused. And in order to do so, that's why he incarnated into that body.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that about the touch because it's become like a little inside joke. And then it just kind of came out of nowhere. But every night when we go to sleep, he will come and he will sit by my side of the bed and he will put his little face on the side of the bed. And my husband says he's waiting on his nighttime loves.
Yeah.
And every night I tell him how much I love him and how much of a good boy he is. And that he's going to have sweet dreams and no bad dreams. And I just like put our heads together and I kiss his forehead and I love him. And then he lays down and he goes to sleep.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But it's like he needs that. It's like a routine that we do now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's adorable. All right. So speaking of sleep, I do want to address the dreams that you were asking about.
Yes, please.
So let me take a look at that. And I understand this because I also dream very vividly and continue dreams and things like that. So let's take a look at what you're doing in your dream state and how you can sort of interpret that a little bit better. So you do have dreams of past lives. It's why they're so real. But oftentimes when we dream of past lives, sometimes our brain can interpret it in a different way. So it may feel like it's in current time or current body, but you're experiencing these things on a different level. This is also the place in which you move through most of your emotions and things that you need to process. It is advisable to write down these dreams and see where they may be pointing you in terms of the direction of energy. Are they fearful dreams? Are they strange dreams that you can't make sense of? Or are they dreams that have a particular theme? And writing these dreams down and identifying these themes can help you identify what it is you're working through. So you said it's both
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Because like one dream, it's not that they're identical places every single time, but they're very much alike.
Okay.
And like I have this one where it's a beach scene kind of dream. The water recedes and you see all these treasures and everything in the water. And it's always me in the water seeing like glowing gemstones or the water receding and then being on the ground. And then I get this sense of like, okay, I know the water's coming back. Like, how long do I have to gather these things and get out? And
Mm.
water in general is a big thing for me because I'm so fascinated by it and like sunken boats and everything like that. But
Mhm.
I'm terrified at the same time. So I
Mm.
get a lot of that in my dreams from that fear, I'm assuming. And then I have another one where I'm in like a cobblestone road and it's very old and it looks like maybe old Italy. And there's this building that's maybe like 3 or 4 stories high. And I get a feel of it's like a hotel or something like that with like a convenience type store in the bottom, but very old and very almost European.
What I'm getting is that the Italy dream, that is definitely past life. The dream of the water. Water always represents emotion. And so immediately what I got for that was that the treasures that you are seeking, the beautiful abundance that you are seeking, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's money, but it can be. It can be money, it can be fulfillment, it could be connection, it can be all kinds of things. Those treasures lie just beyond your emotion. If you imagine the water as representing your emotions, the emotions keep on flooding in and covering up the treasure. What this is telling you in your subconscious is that you do need to deal with the emotions that you're feeling in order to get to that treasure.
Wow.
You can set the intention of asking your higher self and your guidance to show you the emotions that you need to experience in order to release them so you can get to that treasure. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is something that we can also dive into in another session at some other point if you wanted to. We can kind of take a look at some of the big points of emotion that you might need to address and release in order to get to that point. And this is going to be part of the work that you're going to be doing in order to be able to help other people with this. Even if you start taking these trainings and things like that, this aspect of what needs to be released is going to be released throughout that process as well. Regardless of whether or not you do it with me or you do it with somebody else, it doesn't matter. Like, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of setting the intention to do it at some point. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see if they have any other messages about the dreams. They're saying that don't worry if there are certain dreams you can't interpret, that sometimes you don't need to interpret every single dream. Okay. So they're giving me an example. So I had a dream last night that was not fantastic, but it wasn't scary. It was just clearly something that I need to work on. And I woke up in the middle of the night right after the dream. And I knew that I had to remember the dream just because like I was woken up in the middle of the night. And so I did do a little voice note describing the dream so I could remember what it was. And then when I woke up, I was able to take a look at it and say, okay, I see the theme here. And the theme was betrayal. Now, the people in the dream were my family. It was my dad and my sister. And my dad has long since passed. But like, it didn't have to do with them specifically with the betrayal. It had to do with betrayal in general and how I feel about it and what betrayals I've had in my life that I need to either let go of or forgive. The dream itself and the subject matter and what actually happened in the dream don't necessarily matter. It's more the theming or the tone of what happened that you need to look at. That is a good way to first diagnose, okay, what is happening within the dream? Okay, so it's betrayal. Okay, so what do I need to look at regarding that? Okay. Another thing that I also do is I will often put in my dreams into like ChatGPT. And weirdly enough, ChatGPT is really good at giving you prompts and questions to ask yourself based on the symbols or the energy of the dream. That is something that you can also do if you're not able to understand the energy or the feeling or the message. Doing something like that can be helpful just to at least start asking the right questions.
Yeah. I've been using ChatGPT a lot lately, actually, for that very reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be really helpful for that kind of stuff. The one thing that I do suggest is that when you do it, make sure that you are using your intuition as well. So when you're reading what is coming at you, just make sure that you're saying, yes, okay, I'm checking in with my heart. Does this resonate? Does it not? So use your intuition in tandem with it. Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. I would like to close the Akashic Records. Thank you to Akula, my Akashic guide. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon for being here today and guiding us through the records. The records are closed. The records are closed. The records are closed. Thank you. Okay, how do you feel?
Great. I feel like I did get a lot of clarity. I feel like I got some things validated that I already kind of knew, but just needed someone else to say. That's a big one. Yeah. So thank you very much.
You're so welcome. I look forward to speaking again.
We will absolutely speak again. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
I would like to thank Millie for allowing me to record her session for the podcast. Let's start off by talking about addictions. We cover quite a bit of subject matter in the session regarding where addictions come from, why they're there on an energetic basis, and how to move through them. Now, it may seem like a simple solution to just get to the root of why the addiction exists to begin with. It is like every other type of healing that we do, it comes off in layers. And depending on where this emotion is coming from, whether it's coming from childhood or maybe even a past life, you have to accept the fact that it might take a little bit longer to move through, in which case the work that needs to be done on a regular basis to move through those emotions, to be able to transmute those emotions, and to be able to finally let go of the addiction. The one thing that my guides were showing me during the session was that even if you remove one addiction, so let's say you decide to stop drinking, and that is a beautiful thing to do, it just becomes more difficult when you haven't dealt with the root cause. So in other words, you'll end up with another addiction, whether it's to your phone, or maybe it's to sugar, or maybe it's to other things that maybe aren't as severe or possibly detrimental to your life as alcohol. But then you are going to focus that energy in that other direction until you are able to get to the root cause. And this becomes a little tricky because when we look at society and societal norms, it is completely normal to drink alcohol on a regular basis. It is completely normal to sit there and look at our phones constantly, all the time, scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through whatever social media platform, to scroll through news, whatever it is that you do on your phone. It is completely accepted and normal to do so many things that are addictive. Shopping, working. How many times do you find yourself in contact with people who are workaholics, that they can't make time for their families or for themselves even, because they just work and work and work and work? And sometimes that is out of necessity, but sometimes it is because they are avoiding. They're avoiding themselves. They're avoiding connecting to themselves, and they're avoiding connecting to others. It's safer that way. It's safer to connect to the thing that you can control, or that you think you can control. So I'm going to ask my guides to do a little channeling for us right now about societal norms and why they're there, what purpose they serve. Why is it that we are told from a very young age that we must get married and have kids and have a 9-to-5 job and then go on vacation for a couple of weeks out of the year or a month out of the year and then come back and do it all over again? Why is it that we have these social norms, and are they serving us anymore? And some of these social norms, like compulsive shopping, like drinking, like smoking, and now smoking marijuana all the time, like everybody is making it legal, which is fine. It's just switching into another altered state. And sometimes that can help people who might be in pain, who can't sleep, or who are having a hard time with anxiety. It's still not getting to the root cause of whatever ailment the person is dealing with. Societal norms have been in place for quite some time. There were less societal norms several thousand years ago. And now there are more than there ever have been in the past. The reason for that is the escalation of the societal norms, of what you are meant to achieve, of what you are meant to do, of what your life is meant to look like from the outside. And that is where things have gone wrong in terms of what is expected of each human being on this planet. The major issue is that most people will look at their life through the eyes of another, through the perspective of another, of how someone would judge them, whether it's a parent, how they would judge their success, whether it is a significant other, how they would feel worthy in that connection, whether it's a boss or somebody from the outside, or it might not even be anybody specific. It could just be the general idea of others judging if you don't have a marriage, judging if you don't have a proper job, judging if you don't have all of the things that society is telling you that you must have. But the one thing that society isn't telling us that we must have is love in our hearts, is kindness to others, is following our trajectory of our soul. Those should be the things that we judge against. Is that person following their soul? Is that person following their heart? And are they following love and kindness? That should be the gauge. It shouldn't matter if a person is married or not married. It shouldn't matter if a person has a particular job or not. It shouldn't matter where a person lives, how they live, who they're with, how much money they have. None of that matters. Those are all illusions in this experience that you have on Earth. What we talk about in this podcast, as well as with Annette often, is that the soul is what needs to lead the way. And energy leads more than you think it does. All of these things that we're speaking of in this discussion at this time, drugs, alcohol, addictions to your phone, workaholism, all of those things are all things that serve to cover up your connection to you, your connection to your soul. So how many of those things are you using to not listen to your heart, to not listen to who you are, and to not listen to the version of you that is screaming to release the emotions, to actually face your fears, to be in a space of acceptance of who you are, where you are, and what is going on in your life? How many of you know who you are without your vices, so to speak? Who are you without alcohol? Who are you without your phones? Who are you without your work? If you strip all of those things away, what are you left with? I can tell you right now that you're left with that pure, unconditionally loving soul that you have. And we encourage you to get to know that soul. Get to know who you are. The more you get to know who you are as a soul, the less you are going to gravitate towards the things that just fill the time, that cover up your emotions, that allow you to disconnect from everyone, including yourself. Every time you are doing something, I want you to ask yourself, is this bringing me closer to connection, or is this disconnecting me from everyone I love? Is this disconnecting me from myself? Anytime you make a decision, I want you to ask yourself, is this decision moving me closer to the connection in my heart with myself? Is it moving me closer to the connection I have with others? Does it make me feel uplifted and joyful? Or is this something that is just going to numb me out? So many people on this planet are sleepwalking, and they're sleepwalking with the pretense that they are living the picture perfect life, that they have exactly what society tells them they are meant to have. And often some of these people are dying inside because they are not happy with what society tells them they should be happy with. If you are one of those people that is not happy with where you are in your life, where you need to start is within. Why are you not happy? Are you disconnected from you? Are you disconnected from your divine source energy? Do you have faith in the path that you have chosen for yourself in this life? And if you don't, why don't you? Do you know what path you've chosen in this life? All of these inquiries are important for your journey. They help you to understand why you may be unhappy or unfulfilled in a particular situation. You might not understand why you feel unfulfilled because maybe everything on paper in your life looks perfect or looks great, but within you know there's something off. And whatever that particular thing is that doesn't feel aligned, it is time for you to explore that. And just as we led Annette through the meditation with Millie of talking to her addiction, asking the addiction why it's there, you can do this with your discontent. You can do this with your feelings of disconnection. Why am I disconnected? Why am I not feeling the full spectrum of my emotions? Am I numb? Am I just going through the motions? And what is it that I can do to find my passion, my joy, and my connection to me and to others again? Or maybe you never had it. So maybe this is the first time that you're asking yourself these questions in order to be able to connect, not only to your heart, but to others. We are not vilifying some of the things that you do here on this planet for pleasure. There are people who are taking each one of these pleasures to an extreme. In the case of alcoholism, sex addicts, people who are workaholics, it is when it's taken to an extreme that the alarm bells need to start going off. Because what that means is that that emotion, whatever is deep down within you, whether it is ancestral, whether it is from a past life, or whether it is from a current life, has reached a tipping point. It has reached that tipping point where it needs to be dealt with now because it has become untenable for you as a human to be able to handle that emotion or that energy that is coursing through your energy field. So if you find yourself gravitating towards something in particular to help soothe yourself in moments of need, in moments of grief or pain, that should be the first clue to you to know that that is the place where you need to start looking. There isn't any particular way that we would advise that you go about this process in terms of getting through an addiction or moving past the need for an addiction. It is something that you need to explore on your own. It is a process that only you can devise. It's going to be different for everyone and how they move through that. Some people might need to remove themselves from the situation entirely. For example, in the case with Millie, because she was a bartender, removing herself from working behind a bar was paramount for her to be able to start working on this addiction. Other people may not need to cut out the addiction entirely in order to start moving through it. But that is entirely up to your journey and what you are doing. And we're going to talk a little bit about the addiction of the societal norms, the constant striving, constantly trying to be better, do better, have a better job, have more money, have better status, have more status, more fame, whatever it is that you're seeking. That is an addiction in and of itself. You don't need to do or be anything in order to be worthy in the eyes of the divine and in the eyes of your soul. The lack of judgment of self is the path to freedom. If you are able to accept your experiences as they are, not judge where you are, and accept that your soul is guiding you exactly where you need to be, that is freedom. And then when you come across people who are, let's say, judging you for that, when you have that confidence within yourself, that freedom to know exactly who you are and where you're going, any comments from outside sources can be just simply used as information. You can discern whether or not that information is important or not. Maybe somebody made a good point and you might want to integrate that into your practice or into your journey. Or maybe somebody said something that is completely irrelevant to you, but is merely a reflection back at them of what they need to work on. That discernment comes in because you are able to be the observer, just as Millie is in this session. If you are able to observe and understand each person for where they are on their journey and not take on any energy that is coming from them that is not relevant to your journey, that is also freedom. Of course, the universe has a wonderful way of sending you teachers, of sending you people who are going to reflect back at you the things that you need to look at. Or maybe it's a little test to see if you are going to respond or react in the same way that you did in the past. But either way, it is information to give you perspective on where you happen to be right now in this moment. In terms of the societal norms of marriage, let's say, not everybody is meant to be married. Not everybody is meant to be in a relationship that results in children. We are starting to break out of that template in terms of where we are on our soul's journey as a collective. Of course, there will still be people who incarnate to have families, to birth new souls onto the planet, but it will look much different than it has in the past. There won't be the conventions that have been anchored into society for hundreds and thousands of years, based on religion, based on other aspects of society that no longer serve. It is not to say that religion needs to go away, but it is to say that the control aspects, that the strict rules that religion has will need to soften and be more open in order to allow souls to do what they came here to do more effectively. Now, it's all perfect in the eyes of the soul plan because each soul comes here knowing exactly what they're getting into. And each soul knows exactly what structures they are here to break down, break out of, start anew. And all of these things are starting to happen in quick succession, where people are understanding why they're here. Even if they are not spiritual, some people are understanding why they are here. They are able to connect to their soul and connect to their higher self without even realizing that they're doing it. We encourage you to connect to all of these concepts we've been speaking about. What is your soul purpose? If you don't know, find out. What is your path in this lifetime? Why are you doing some of the things that you do? Is it because of pressure from other people? And if so, how can you alleviate that pressure? Are you judging yourself? And if you are, how can you allow grace in place of that judgment of self? How can you allow love in place of judgment? This is how you get back on your path. And this is another large step in how to move through addictions, how to move through how society tells you you're supposed to live your life, and how to start walking freely in the path that your soul has chosen for you.
If you're enjoying this podcast, it would be really amazing if you could like, share, and subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify, feel free to give it a review if you feel called. If you are following me on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you are notified for every single new episode of the Akashic Recordings. If you feel called to book a session with me, you can always reach me at infinitesoullove.com, and you can book directly on my website. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I can't wait to connect with you next week.